Hello, everybody. Woohoo! Very, very sorry it's been a while since I did another installment of What on Earth, but I have been away on vacation. Been off to America for a couple of weeks, stayed in a log cabin in the middle of the forest in Pennsylvania, which was amazing. And then when we came back, we went camping and had a great time. Staying in a tent in Derbyshire and Staffordshire in the UK. Hope you're having a great summer. So today is part 5 of What on Earth. Now, the last video that I created in regards to What on Earth was focused upon the Anunnaki. So I was explaining to everybody who and what the Anunnaki are, how they came to be on our planet, when they got to our planet, what they did, where it is that they come from, why did they come to Earth in the first place? And that's pretty much where we left it. So, as a little précis, very, very quick synopsis, the Anunnaki are what we would call an extraterrestrial species because they do not originate from our planet. They originate from a planet that we have called Nibiru or Wormwood or Homunculus, many, many different names. And this planet orbits the binary sun of our solar system. So our solar system has two suns. Each sun has its own orbitals. So it has its own solar system of planets. And occasionally, every so often, the two suns come back together. They do a dance around each other, as do the planets that orbit the suns. And when that dance occurs, when Nibiru is very close to Earth, because it does come close to Earth, in our previous history, this is when the Anunnaki came to Earth and where the known history that we know in regards to the Anunnaki on Earth begins. So it got to a certain point with the Anunnaki being here, and they'd been living, obviously, still on Nibiru. They'd been, some of them living on Mars, some of them living on Earth, and traveling between the different planets. And eventually, it was felt that Earth, the gravity on Earth just was making the Anunnaki feel quite ill. The Anunnaki are much taller than we are. Hence, if you look at some really ancient places on the planet, why there's a series of little steps like that, which we humans walk up. And then next to it, there's massive big steps like that. And everybody will often question, why would we need those really big steps? Well, you need them for the Anunnaki back in those times, back in those days. The pure Anunnaki after a certain point, so the royal bloodlines and also the ones that were, in charge, decided that they didn't want to stay. The Earth was not a place where they could stay for a long time. They'd had a good time. It had been a bit of a playground in a way. Um, it had been a nice little trip out, getting them some gold for their planet, but they didn't want to stay. But they wanted to make sure that they stayed in control of their real estate because that's the way that they see Earth. The Earth is theirs. And so they left the hybrids in charge. So if you go back to the earlier video that explains that the original human was made with Anunnaki genes and Neanderthal man genes combined, but there were hybrids that were created through the actual pure Anunnaki gods, so Enki and Enlil, procreating directly with humans or human females. And those particular species were much bigger. They would be referred to in the past as giants, much taller, because they had more Anunnaki genes within them than the created human did. And so, if you look back through some of the ancient drawings of Egyptian times, you will see that the Egyptian pharaohs, the original ones, maybe not necessarily the ones that were inbred over and over time, that ended up with genetic deformities, but the original Egyptian pharaohs, they had skills, elongated skulls. They were much taller, much bigger than the normal humans. And, modern day scholars interpret that as, oh, these paintings were done through the eyes of, the common slaves who just saw the pharaohs as much bigger than them because they were more powerful than them. No, they saw them exactly as they were, which is much bigger than them because they were essentially a different species. So the Anunnaki hybrids, which were the descendants of the Anunnaki that were more Anunnaki than the common man or woman, because these hybrids had been created through the gods fornicating with human women, they were the ones that were left to control the humans. And they were given certain directives. They were told that they were in charge, because they were special, because they were a different species, which they are, because they are more Anunnaki than the common human or woman, which entitles them to more power, which entitles them to control us. And they were given the directive, you can rule because that is your entitlement, as you are more Anunnaki. You're not as special as us, the Anunnaki. We are still your gods, but you're more special than them, the humans. They are your slaves to do with as you wish. We are now going to cycle back around again. The suns are going to part from each other. This was the last time this occurred. And we're not going to see each other for a good long while. Again, I can't remember how many years it is, 3,600, something like that. It's not that. It's less, but I can't remember the exact figure. But until we come back again to take control and to see how well you have done, these are your goals. Number one, keep the humans at a manageable level in terms of numbers on the planet. Make them work for you. Make them keep you rich so you don't have to do anything. But whilst they're keeping you rich, so you don't have to do anything and you can just rule, you don't have to work like them. You need to make sure that you're collecting all of the gold. Because when we come back around again, we want that gold. We need it to keep our planet going because of this hole that we've got in our ozone layer. So keep the slaves occupied, do an occasional culling of the slaves to show them who's boss, to keep them scared, and to keep the numbers at a manageable level. Collect the gold. Don't let the slaves ever know that they're a different species to us. And yeah, we'll see you again in 3,600 odd years, and we'll look forward to seeing what you've done on the planet. And so that's essentially where we are now. So these Anunnaki hybrids that were told they're more special than us because they're more Anunnaki. They have more Anunnaki genes than we have. They see us as slaves because that's what they have been educated and told that we are. We're not the same as them. These hybrids now represent all of the people that are in control in the countries now. The royals, the rich people, and you'll note that they all interbreed. They all marry into each other's families. There's a reason for that. They're keeping the bloodlines pure, the Anunnaki bloodlines pure. You can see in some of the very rich families, there are still traits, even now, of the Anunnaki there. You can look at their skulls. They are much bigger than our skulls. And I'm not going to point that out for you. I'm not going to mention any names. But as I am discussing that, I'm sure all of you can think of a couple of people at least that it has been noted that their skulls seem to be a lot bigger than everybody else's. They are in positions of power or they are very, very rich. This is the club that we are not in. We cannot join this club because we don't have the genes. We don't have the lineage. They can trace their lineage back all the way back to Anunnaki times. They know exactly who they are descendant from, and what that entitles them to within our world. And so let's look at how they've done in terms of that, in terms of the directives that they were given, if you like. They were told to keep us in a manageable amount, keep us working all the time, giving them money so they don't have to do anything, they can just be rich, collect up all the gold, and also to kind of find a way to keep us under control as well through fear. So we don't ever think about revolting or questioning our reality. So the things that they've used over the years to keep us under control are things like religion, making us scared of angering the gods, of going against a wrathful God. They've kept us warring with each other because then they don't have to even do the culling themselves, do they? All they have to do is just stir the hornet's nest, and different groups of humans will kill each other. They don't have to do anything about it. They keep us obsessed with money because we need it to live, which is what they've done. And they take a good percentage of that money off of us for tax. And that keeps all of their world well oiled. They've kept us divided in terms of pitching men against women. They've kept us divided in regards to geography, different countries. Back through history, the Tower of Babel, humans have tried to revolt before. They've tried to stand up against these hybrids that were ruling. And what happened then is the humans were split. They were taken to different places and they were taught different languages because it was known that if we couldn't communicate to each other, that we would see each other as different, that we would feel hostile towards each other, and we would be more distrustful of each other. So we would be less likely to band together and work together as a team. So if we cannot even speak the same language to communicate what we feel, how can we possibly come together, share knowledge, and overthrow these rulers that have dominated over us for so long? Nowadays, they keep us distracted with sexuality and different types of sexuality and pronouns, and they keep us constantly looking for reasons why we have to be different from each other instead of looking at each other as the same species, as brother and sister, brother and brother, sister and sister. They keep us divided by colour, by race, by social status, by politics, by geography. And they know this game much better than we do because they've played it before. They know all they have to do to maintain control over us as the slave species is to keep us worrying about money, worshipping celebrities, wanting to be celebrities, wanting to be famous, wanting to be different than what we are, looking different. And so it can be quite clearly seen how it is that they've managed to maintain control all of this time, and we've never cottoned on to what it is that's going on. And in regards to all of the gold, hit me a long time ago. Why would these institutions like the Vatican or the royal families like the Queen, now the King, why would they need all of this gold? Why do they need to sit on a throne of gold when there's people dying all over the world of starvation and thirst? If these are such benevolent rulers, benevolent beings, how can they sit on that throne of gold and drink out of their golden goblets? How can they sleep at night knowing that there's babies dying, malnutrition? It's because they don't care. They see themselves as a different species to us. So much as we can do the same to cattle or to animals. And the meat industry will separate cows, baby cows, calves from their mothers and take their mother's milk and not give it to the calf, give it to the humans. Kill the babies, kill the baby lambs. They see us as many of the humans see animals. We are a part of their food chain to be used as they see fit. The only difference is we require a more subtle, and I hasten to use the word intelligent, but a more complex means of distraction. They distract us with technology. They distract us through our egos, the constant pursuit of fame and wealth, the constant pursuit of appearance and looking a certain way. And now is the time for that to change on this planet. Everything that I've just explained in this video has to make you realize that we need to start coming together as a species. We've got to stop looking at each other as, oh, they follow this political leader, or they're from this country, so they're different, or they're this sex, so they're different to us, or they're this sexuality, so they're different to us. None of it matters. None of it matters. It's all used to our detriment, to make us feel divided amongst our brothers and sisters, and to pitch us against each other so we constantly are consuming each other. I'm going to go back to that beautiful film, A Bug's Life. If one ant stands up, they could all stand up. And if they all stand up, that's our way of life over. That's what we've got to do. And this doesn't have to be a bloodbath. That is not what I would be advocating for, because then you're just the same as them. There's a very easy way for all of us to come together as a species, and that is to not partake in what it is that they're pushing on us. It's to not read the magazines. It's to not watch their films. It's to not watch their Oscar ceremonies and Grammys. It's to not listen to their satanic music. We need to make them irrelevant, and we need to find our own ways of being by coming together as a group of heart-centered people who do not want to live in this way anymore. If you are one of those people that sat at home thinking to yourself, how can our planet be as screwed up as it is? How can there not be world peace on the planet in 2025? How can there still be the threat of war? How can there still be so much hatred between fellow human beings just because of their beliefs and that they might play for a different football team than yours, or they might follow a different politician than the one that you like? If you want to be a part of a different world, you've got to be that world. You've got to embody it. You've got to envision it. You've got to breathe life into it. You've got to be it. You have to be the change. And if all of us stopped buying their toxin riddled products, if all of us stopped eating at their disgusting food chains, if all of us stopped buying their bioengineered ingredient ridden foods, if we grew our own vegetables, if we grouped together, if we worked together as a team, if we loved each other, if we looked at where we have a commonality instead of where our differences are, we would be the change this planet needs. So I'm going to leave What on Earth Part 5 there today, because I think that is a very key point to end before we proceed and move forwards, where we look into, so why is it that there can be groups of people that are so different? Why is it that there can be groups of people that are so ruthless and mean and they just look out for themselves? The narcissistic type traits, those types of people, why do we have those types of people versus people that are kind? That's the topic we're going to move on to when we move into What on Earth Part 6, which will be the next video. So the next video is going to cover off polarity. So for those of you that have not come across that before, I'm going to be discussing polarity, which is service to others versus service to self. Those are the two polarities that you will find in dimensions up to 5 in the universe. Beyond 5, you will not find service to self. But service to self beings exist up to dimension or density number 5. So we're going to move on to that onto the next video. I hope you find that beneficial today. I hope it's caused you to think a little bit. You know, where are you being authentic? Where is your integrity? Where are you still operating within your world, not in congruence with who it is that you really want to be? And if there are any changes that you can make, then please do go ahead and make them, because now is the time. Now really is the time that we have to start changing. We have to start coming together. We have to start working together as a species to bring into being the world that we actually want to live in, not just existing in a world that's been forced upon us. Okay, guys, until the next time I see you all, make sure you keep vibrating high. Lots of love. Bye bye.